Hello everyone, welcome to our channel, Comments and Answers TJ. I hope you are all doing well. In this video, we are going to prepare for the book study, Complete Testimony, for the week of January 13th to 19th. This week, we will study chapter 21, paragraphs 1 to 7, and the box. So, let's get started. Questions 1 to 3, Part A. How did Eutychus die? Eutychus, a young man who was listening to Paul in Troas, fell asleep while Paul was speaking. While sitting in a window, he fell and died. Despite Luke's efforts, who was a doctor, they could do nothing for him. Additional comments. Acts 20:9 shows how a lack of attention can lead to serious consequences, but it also teaches us that even in the most tragic moments, Jehovah can intervene through His Holy Spirit to reverse painful situations. Questions 1 to 3, Part B. What did Paul do, and what does this teach us about him? When Paul learned about the tragedy, he went to where Eutychus was, laid on him, and told the group not to be alarmed, because he was alive. Paul performed this miracle, resurrecting him, which strengthened the faith of the brothers and gave them more courage to continue preaching. This shows Paul's respect for life and his dedication to helping others. Additional comments. Acts 20:26 reminds us of the importance of being responsible for the lives of others, as Paul could confidently say he was clean from the blood of all men, reflecting his dedication to caring for both the faith and the physical well-being of others. Question 4. What bad experience did Paul have in Ephesus? Paul had a bad experience in Ephesus due to the silversmiths who depended on selling idols for the goddess Artemis. This caused a great disturbance and violence among the people. After the situation calmed down, Paul called the disciples, encouraged them, said his goodbyes, and began his journey to Macedonia. Additional comments. The disturbance caused by the silversmiths shows how the preaching of the gospel can challenge customs and commerce that are not aligned with God's principles, as seen in Acts 19:23-29. Despite the violence and danger, Paul did not let himself be discouraged and continued his mission, showing great faith and determination. Acts 20:1. Questions 5 and 6, Part A. How long did Paul stay in Macedonia, and how did he help the brothers there? Paul stayed in Macedonia for about a year, where he gave many words of encouragement to the disciples. He was also expecting to meet with Titus, who had gone to Corinth, but when Titus did not arrive, Paul decided to go to Macedonia. There, when Titus finally arrived, he gave good news about the response of the Christians in Corinth, which motivated Paul to write the letter we know as 2 Corinthians. Additional comments. The time Paul spent in Macedonia showing encouragement to the disciples highlights his patience and dedication. He didn't just preach, but also took the necessary time to spiritually strengthen the believers. The fact that Paul spent so much time in Macedonia, offering encouragement, reflects his dedication to strengthening the faith of the brothers, as mentioned in Acts 20. 2. Questions 5 and 6, Part B. How did Paul view his brothers in the faith? Paul viewed his brothers in the faith as teammates, not as inferiors. Although he gave firm advice when necessary, he always did so with love, showing his deep care and respect for them. Additional comments. Paul did not see the brothers as inferior people, but as partners in serving God, as mentioned in 1 Corinthians 3:9, showing a relationship of teamwork and mutual love. Even though Paul sometimes had to be firm in his advice, his motivation was always love and the desire for his brothers to grow spiritually, as shown in 2 Corinthians 2:4, where he expresses his pain over the necessary correction. Question 7. How do Christian superintendents imitate Paul? Christian superintendents, like the elders in congregations, strive to imitate Paul's example. While they sometimes have to give firm advice, their goal is always to help the person. They try to understand how the person feels and, instead of judging them, they strive to encourage them. An experienced superintendent mentions that many brothers want to do things right, but struggle with frustrations, fears, or feelings of helplessness. Elders have the ability to strengthen these brothers who feel this way. Additional comments. Like Paul, Christian superintendents strive to give firm but loving advice, always seeking to build up the congregation, as mentioned in Hebrews 12:12-13. Elders, like Paul, seek to understand and encourage the brothers, recognizing the internal struggles they face, as reflected in the understanding attitude mentioned in Hebrews 12:12-13. Comments from the box, Paul's letters written in Macedonia. Second letter to the Corinthians. Paul was worried about the brothers in Corinth when he arrived in Macedonia, but he felt more at peace when Titus brought good news about them. In that letter, Paul mentions that he was still in Macedonia, around the year 55. He was also working to collect money for the brothers in Judea and was concerned because there were people deceiving the church in Corinth. Letter to Titus. After being imprisoned in Rome, Paul went to the island of Crete and left Titus there to correct some issues in the church. He asked him to meet him in a city called Nicopolis, which was probably near Macedonia. Paul wanted Titus to help resolve things in the church and organize the leaders. First letter to Timothy. This letter was also written between 61 and 64. At the beginning of the letter, Paul asks Timothy to stay in Ephesus while he goes to Macedonia. In this letter, Paul gives advice and encouragement to Timothy on how to handle certain issues within the congregations. Well, these have been the practical answers for the congregation book study this week. I hope this is very helpful to you, my dear brothers and sisters. I send you a big hug, and may Jehovah always bless and protect you.